Eoghan's first time emceeing an event. So I'm usually up here with Dave Newman. He's away doing whatever, I don't know. But so Eoghan's a newly joined Morning Startup organiser. Introduced you a few weeks back. So this is, I think, the first event that you've actually organised. So. Yes!
No pressure, but you're going to love it, I promise.
All right, so who hasn't been to Morning Startup before, just out of interest? A few hands. Okay, cool. So if you don't know about Morning Startup, we do this every 2 weeks around Healius. We get all you guys into the same room, put on an interesting presenter and talk about startup-related stuff. So hopefully you're starting a company or thinking about starting a company and just need some inspiration or encouragement or whatever it is to get you going, and can meet everyone else in the room doing the same sort of stuff. And yeah, it helps. Founder therapy,
I like that.
So, but we like to know who is in the room, and we like to do that with shameless plugs and announcements. So if you want to stand up and give your 20-second spiel about who you are, why you're here, and what it is you're working on. A shout out if you're looking for a co-founder or whatever it might be. This is your opportunity. Also live streaming it to the region. So who wants to go first?
Did I see a taker here?
Roman.
All right, Roman.
Agent.
I just gonna annoy people with landing pages. So, I'm Roman. I offer high-performance landing pages for startup founders. If you're in need of an MVP for your next product or optimization for the landing page that you already have, just let's have a chat after the event. Thank you.
All right. Who needs help with landing pages? No one, sorry, Roman. Yeah, never mind.
All right. Who's next? Pop up your hand. Beautiful.
Hi, I'm Brad from Rise Collaboration. We're a project management and process design and development consultancy, and we've been working over the last year with a lot of startups, not-for-profits and local government organisations, and we're just reaching out to see if anyone's interested in these sorts of services. If you are, come over and chat to me after the event.
All right, fantastic.
I love project managers. They're great. Serious. I used to be one. Everyone hates them, but they are a really important part of any startup. So
it's important for projects to be managed.
Projects do need to be managed. That's how they get finished. That's how you avoid scope creep. That's how you avoid gold plating your startup solution.
Nice. Any more shameless plugs and announcements?
Do you want a shameless plug? You know you do.
I've only just walked in and sat down.
Hi, I'm Kate. I'm from Core Innovation Hub. I'm the WA Ecosystem Lead. What have I got to pitch today that's something different? I'm spending the next 2 days at WA Mining. We have an innovation zone there. So that product, the idea of that is to allow small companies the opportunity to have access to larger conferences they wouldn't normally have access to. We're taking 4 companies there over the next 2 days, but we run these regularly at events. So if you're interested ever in being part of an innovation zone and you can't get access to a conference, you want to access it at a lot lower price point, then hit me up for next year. All right, thanks.
Cool. So those are one of the zones at a big conference, and you get a whole bunch of companies like putting up a little stand inside it. Yeah, awesome.
And it's free to attend.
That's free.
Oh, not always.
Not free.
Not always,
but
no. But you can access it much cheaper than if you had to get a booth yourself. No, I mean it's
free or cheaper.
Or it's free to go to the expo today. Correct. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Yeah. Go.
I feel like I'm on The Price is Right.
Hi, my name is Ashwani. I've recently graduated in Masters of Data Science with distinction. I've worked with 3 years as a full-stack developer in Infosys, my multinational company. I'm currently looking for some work opportunities to work with someone on some field-related work.
Fantastic. So data science is your game?
Yep.
All right. You need data science, you know what to do. So we'll have 3.5 hours, half an hour of networking. Need more coffee. After the speaker today, we've got food and everything at the back, so help yourself now or later. All right, cool. Well, we'll move along. So we've got a few people that we want to thank and some other shameless plugs to make. So we also run Founder Sundowner on the first Wednesday of every month. If you're not a morning person like me, come along for a few bevies at Nowhere Man Brewery. It's actually called The Other Side of Nowhere now, because I got acquired. So I've got to update my slide. Gah! Thank you, Nowhere Man, generating work for me. Do you know much about this one? Dave put this in the deck.
No, but I will channel Dave as Dave's understudy. And what Dave usually hypes up as part of Purpose Ventures is there's only a few tickets of this still available. So scan the QR code, you might get lucky. But what he's saying is it's a great introduction to understanding venture capital. So if you're a founder and you're looking for money, this is a great way to understand more about the landscape. So particularly if you're inspired after today's talk and want to learn more, great session to get along to.
Get around it. All right. And JITSI, the Department of JITSI, Jobs, Tourism, Science and Innovation, have a thing called the New Industries Fund with a whole bunch of cool programs, including the Innovation Booster Grants for startups. It's like $40,000 if you've got an idea and got a little bit of traction. And the Commercialisation Bridge Grant?
Correct. So the Commercialisation Bridge Grant is for people who, if you've got an existing startup and you need just a little bit of extra cash and you've got a deal that's just going through its final stages, that's the grant for you. So what you can see up on the slide is we've got everything from, you've got an established, so JETSI's got something for everyone, which is pretty exciting. So it's got said everything from WA Innovator of the Year. So seeing some of the most exciting startup businesses in Western Australia, Innovation Booster Grant, love it. I've had one in the past. Not only is the money really helpful, what is also good is the exposure that you get from receiving any of these from JETSI.
That's true. And also put your stuff on wa.dealroom.co. It's a website you can put up your company information and see what's happening in the ecosystem. But they help us with the live stream. So check out that impressive equipment up the back. That's thanks to the guys at Perth Video. Man, we've got the glitchy microphones back. What's going on? We thought we fixed it. Ugh. Sorry about that if it continues. But if you want to check out the live stream, perthvideo.com.au/morningstartupperth. And yeah, if you need any live streaming, check out those folks.
Ammo marketing. So every successful startup, you need to get about your word out in the world. Ammo Startup have been in the startup ecosystem for a long time. Is Jack here this morning?
No, Jack.
No Jack.
Sure, he's in spirit.
But yeah, Jack's often along to Morning Startup. So either get in contact with Ammo, look out for Jack, if you're looking for a marketing firm who specialises in the startup ecosystem.
Absolutely. And they also have the Weird Growth podcast, so make sure you subscribe to that. It's interviews and things with founders. Beecham Group, no Glenn here either, but they're a boutique recruitment company in Perth. If you have talent and you want to get a gig or you need people to come and work with you that are talented, hit them up, IT recruitment specialists. Keep Space. So we've got some food at the back. Is anyone in e-commerce?
Yay!
All right, 3PL, if that's your acronym. They can help you out with shipping stuff around the world. So they've got a warehouse in Perth, warehouse in Melbourne. They're expanding like nuts and can help you. They've got a cool platform to manage all of that stuff. So get around Keep Space, and thank you, Jesse, for the food. And Tech On. We got Matt here. Excellent. Anything new with Tech On Space? Do you want to do your own shameless plug for Tech On?
Yeah, you do.
You're like, oh man, I haven't even got through my first coffee for the day.
Yeah, hi everyone, Matt here from TechOn. We've been working in the Perth ecosystem for almost 6.5 years now. We get developers and connect them from Nepal, connect them with startups here. More cost effective, but sometimes better than the local devs. And anything from full stack development, AI, ML, UI, UX, DevOps, etc., etc. Got any needs, come and speak to me. Oh, and no code as well, more recently. So come and speak to me if you've got any developer needs and need a platform build, etc.
Fantastic.
I'll also
Thanks,
mention on Matt's behalf that they're also working on a CTO school as well.
Yes.
So if you're a founder and you're looking to build your technology skills, Matt and the team behind TechOn, definitely follow them and see what they're up to.
Yeah, if you're a coder and just need to level up to CTO level, they can get you on that path. Thank you guys, and then they're supplying our coffee, so thank you very much to TechOn. Just tell Joey Zazas you're at Morning Startup if you want a coffee. Now, there's a bunch of cool supportive organisations. Space Cubed, we're in a Space Cube place at the moment. They've got 3 more down St George's Terrace. If you need somewhere to work, do it at Space Cubed. Make sure you subscribe to Startup News. You get all your info every Friday on what's happening in startup land in WA. Startup WA, they're our body for lobbying to government about everything that we need. All of that stuff that Jitsi has launched, all those cool programs, is pretty much a direct result of the fantastic work that Startup WA do. So make sure you're a member, 100% free, and you will get invites to events and everything around startup. And Plus 8. Did anyone go to the Plus 8 demo night last night? Woo, how cool was that? Heath Ledger, that was really cool. I hadn't been there before. All the startups did a really good job. Haven't heard of Plus 8. It's an accelerator in WA. And do you know much about Plus 8?
I do know a little bit about
There
Plus
you go.
8, but I think you've pretty much touched on it. They're an accelerator. It is exactly what it says on the tin. But it's been, I think it's one of Perth's longest standing accelerators.
And there's curtain stuff as well. In fact, go to this next slide. Scan the QR code, that takes us to a webpage. If you're new to the innovation stuff in Perth, that will tell you all of the programs that you can hook into. We've got Bloom, Kerry, AgriStart, all of, depending on what sort of sector you're in, that will take you through, ask you some questions. They've got a little co-pilot AI thing where you can chat with it and say, how can you help me in Perth? Where's money available? All of that cool stuff. So yeah, get around it. There's a lot of good programs. See a few more cameras. Go on, grab that QR code. All right, sweet. Get in touch with us.
Yes.
We're Morning
please.
Startup.
We are Morning Startup. And we've also got Nina here this morning as well. So there's a few of us around. So if you're thinking about speaking at Morning Startup, come chat to one of us. We're always looking for speakers next year. And we're very social. So follow us on LinkedIn and all of the usual channels because we post a lot about what's happening in the startup scene in Western Australia.
Not as much as we should. I'm not as social as I'd like to be on there, but yeah, we need help. We need to
So
post
if
more.
anyone likes
Get on it.
Facebook,
just tag us in the social media. If you've got something cool for the startup system in Perth, put @Morning Startup in there and I'll make sure it gets reshared, or one of us will. Legends. Oh, this is a cool slide.
this is a cool... I feel like we should just leave it here with no explanation at all and just let everyone just sit with that for a little while. Enjoy that. So as you can probably guess, our speaker in a fortnight's time is going to be a little bit controversial, but what Aaron is going to be speaking about, and please don't ask me to pronounce his surname, is he's going to be speaking about everything that you need to know about building a brand as a startup, but really focused on practical tips that you can take away as a founder.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. All right. And that is formalities out of the way. Boom.
No mic drop, please.
That was hilarious. Cool. But that's it from us. I'll let you introduce our fantastic speaker coming up, and I will switch over the slide decks.
Fantastic. Come on down, Owen. So we're really excited to have Owen this morning. I think it's always, we hear a lot from different founders in the ecosystem, but what Owen will be speaking about today, which is really powerful, is we've got a founder who's made a successful exit from a startup, and he's also not been so scarred from the experience that he's gone on to do a few more. So I do sometimes say that running a startup is somewhat like an addiction. So what he's going to be walking us through this morning is his perspective, what he's learnt as a founder, some of those things along the way. So he'll whip through some learnings for us, and then we'll have time for Q&A at the end.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. If anybody at the back wants to sit down, feel free, there's still seats. Thanks for coming along to listen to me dribble this morning. A couple of things, probably a bit of caveats. Sometimes I can go off on tangents, so Aaron, please pull me back if you need to at any stage, because I can get carried away. I also swear, so I apologise in advance for that. So look, a little bit of my background. I started a business in 2010 called Logic Health. It was what's called an occupational health business. So it was really around providing medical services and injury prevention and health and wellbeing to mining and resource related companies, construction, anything really in the end that was blue collar. I went to uni and did what's called exercise physiology. I left, went travelling, then went and basically my degree was a double degree. It was education and exercise physiology. I got an offer from the education department to go work in Karratha as a teacher for 60 grand, and I also got an offer to go and work as what's called a health and lifestyle coordinator in a mining camp for 65 grand, working 2 weeks on, 1 week off. And at that stage, I thought, oh, that's a pretty good offer, and that's how I got my foot in the door. It was actually going up to manage gyms on mining camps, and through working in the mining camps, you meet people, and those people are earning significantly more money than you, and you're like, oh yeah, sure, I can give that unskilled TA job a go. And that was really where it all began for me, getting onto mine sites, construction sites, seeing what people do, and then, you know, finding avenues with my degree on, you know, there was companies coming to these sites offering services that were all similar to my degree, biomechanics, injury prevention, but they never really had an idea about the jobs that people were doing on site, steel fixers, concreters, chippies, operators. So kind of I came up with, and it wasn't, you know, I didn't come up with some amazing, different, world-breaking product, and I'll touch on that in a second. So that's kind of where the concept for my business began, was just going to site, trying things out, chasing things down rabbit holes. Like I said, started that business in 2010. In 2018, a large ASX-listed medical business called Primary Health at that stage, they've since rebranded to Healius, came along and offered to buy the business. And that was kind of, you know, I think probably sometimes the way these things happen, it wasn't like I had the business out there for sale. Part of the services that Logic Health was offering was pre-employment medicals. Anybody that's worked up north or on a mine site or in construction will know around pre-employment medicals. Medical checks get done on people before they head to site. And we were offering medical checks. Now, a large part of our service, we didn't have a lot of medical centres, and I relied on third-party alliances that I'd made throughout Australia. So when you're looking after Monadelphous or McMahon's, and they're saying, hey, we've got a worker in Mount Isa who needs a medical, I was branching out and finding all these clinics across the country to help deliver our service. Little unbeknownst to me, a lot of the clinics that we were using actually belonged to these guys. They never had them branded as Primary Health. They were all individually branded. And that's probably a separate discussion on branding, if people are branding. And they basically said, look, why don't we formalise our relationship? You know, we should sign a contract and we should make sure, you know, we've got deliverables. And I was kind of like, well, why don't you just buy it? Kind of like, you know, a throwaway comment. They're like, would you sell it? Of course, at that stage, you're kind of like, well, if the money's right, of course I'm going to sell it. So it's a really interesting experience, and I will touch on it. And then, so sold it 2018. The way my deal worked was I had an earn out. So they paid me a lump sum of money up front. And it was a really simple deal. And everything I'll talk about today, obviously, is my experience, and everybody has a different experience. Everybody who you meet who's exited a business has a different experience. Some people have a terrible experience. Some people have a great experience. I'm lucky enough to have had a pretty good experience in the whole scheme of things. But the way that my deal worked, and these deals can be super complicated when you sell a business. Mine was really simple. They basically just went, what's your bottom line, what's your EBITDA? And we're going to times your EBITDA by a multiple, a set multiple. And so we toed and froed on what that multiple was, and we landed on what that multiple was, and that was it. That was the figure, and they basically said, well, this figure, we're going to now give you, I think, 75% of that up front. We're going to cut your check on this date and give you that. The remaining percentage of that, sorry, it was 85%, the remaining percentage of that we're going to pay in year 2 and in year 3 of your earn-out. And it's going to be exactly the same formula. So it's just going to be in year 2 what your EBITDA is times, and there was obviously 7.5 5% of that amount because that is what was remaining. But it was super advantageous to me because they basically said, grow the shit out of this thing because for every dollar you make, we make 13. They had a PE multiple, they're listed, so they were making a lot of money. So they didn't really care about how much they had to pay me because they knew whatever they were paying me, they were making 13 times. So I was super lucky that they just basically said, there's the runway. Now, it did get a little bit trickier because different things then happen along the way, which I'll touch on, but that's the way my deal worked. And I guess when you get to, if you ever sell your business, it's try and keep it as simple as possible. Some of these deals that I've met people since, and some of their deals, the way their deals are worked out, you almost need a degree to figure out who's going to be doing what. And I think it's also a little bit of an early indicator on how honest are the people you're dealing with. You know, like, are they trying to make it so complicated that there can be different changes made down the track? So, yeah, anyway, that's a bit of a background. So, look, I think the first thing to talk about is it's a lonely road. Being an entrepreneur, starting a business, is and my wife's told me not to swear a lot, but it's a fucking lonely road. Like, it is unbelievably lonely. Like, I know you might employ staff, you've got friends, you've got community events like this, but at the end of the day, if you've got another founder, that's great. If it's just you, it's actually just you. And it is unbelievably lonely. Like, in my instance, and with anybody in this room that has a business, you're kind of pumping 70 or 80 hours a week into this thing to try and grow it. And it's a marathon. So you might think, and I never thought with my business that I would sell it. It was just, like, I was probably really naive in business, to be perfectly honest. I didn't have a strategy or a branding or any of that kind of stuff. I was just going to sites, delivering services. But at the end of the day, it's you. And I actually think with the next business that I've started, it's even harder now. I have 2 young kids, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. I don't know how people start businesses with young kids. It is so unbelievably hard because you've got young kids, and if you have a partner as well, and they're like, well, hang on, let's hang out for a little bit. Oh, what do you mean you're working? It's 8 o'clock at night. And that's just the life that it is. And the actual reality is all of that work and all of that effort might equate to 0. That's the reality of a startup. It might equate to a big fat 0. And that, in most cases, is the reality of what everybody in this room is, startups, entrepreneurs, whatever it is. It's also a lonely road because I think you do become isolated from your friends, not only from your family a little bit, and you've got to balance that, right? Because there's a whole heap of issues with that, but from your friends as well. Because in my instance, again, my mates are out, I was a little bit younger, but partying, going to weddings, going to, birthday parties, all of this kind of stuff. I was on planes in the arsehole of nowhere, like in the Pilbara, in South Australia, the Olympic Dam, in Darwin, offshore, wherever. So I guess this is just something to keep in mind. Like, you are starting on a road, and I know there's people in the room that have started businesses and sold businesses, and you understand it, but at the end of the day, it's down to you. The other thing I've put in there as a bit of an afterthought was the hanger-oners. One of the things that I think, and I know, Kate, I speak to you about this a bit, but I find it really interesting in this startup. I was never part of a startup, whatever we call, ecosystem, I guess. There's a lot of people involved in these ecosystems who offer services who have no experience in business. And I actually think it's really worrying that, because I probably was one of the people that when I started a business, if someone came to me and said, hey, I can help you develop a strategy, or I can help with your marketing, or I can help with this, I would have been like, oh yeah, actually I've heard I need a strategy. Oh yeah, I've heard I need a marketing. And it's almost like I feel like some people are preying on the vulnerability of a startup. So I think just be really careful with that, because it is tough. It has ups and downs. Just be careful of people coming to you with, hey, I can help you with this if you give me this. You just really need to dig and ask the awkward questions sometimes with those people. Anyway, The best idea and the smartest person does not win the day. I am a glowing example of that. I am hands down a glowing example of that. In year 10 at high school, my teachers were kind of looking at me going, don't know if it's for you, Owen. I don't know if you're the guy that this is for. What about this career over here? Or maybe, you know, the school isn't great for you. Physio, you want to be a physio? Not sure you want to be a physio. My idea wasn't different. It wasn't 100% unique. I had small things in it that were different and unique. So I think often we have this perception that, you know, you see entrepreneurs and you think, oh, fuck, like, why are they so different? What's made them succeed? What's made them unique? My personal opinion, it comes down to one thing, and that's the ability to grind. I honestly, firmly, and I know that might be a bit of an old school way to go about it, but it's the ability to grind and sustain rejection is how I look at it. And I'm invested in a couple of startups now, and the first one I ever made, it's a big mistake that I made. We went in, amazing idea, and it still is a great idea, but the founder of that business did not have the ability to eat white bread and tuna. And what I mean by that is, when all else fails and there's no money coming in the door, you've got to go to Coles and buy white bread and eat tuna because you've got no money to do anything else. So that's what I look at now when I invest in other business. What is actually the founder's ability to grind and sustain rejection? Because that's what you're in the business of. Yes, you might have a marketing business. Yes, you might have a health business. Yes, you might have a tech business. But it is the ability to grind and sustain rejection. Who here loves sales calls? Anybody? Yeah? You can get to like it to two people. It's so awkward and it's so hard. But it's the ability to just pick up the phone and know if you make 200 phone calls, there's 50 of those that are going to get answered. And out of that 50 that's going to get answered, 10 of them you'll get a meeting with. And out of those 10 that you get a meeting with, 2 of them you might get business from. Yeah? So the whole thing around successful entrepreneurs being unique, being different, sure, there's some globally that are pretty strange cats, but they're the same. We're all the same. They cut themselves, they fall over, they bleed. You know, you hear people speak about some of our mining business people, they're all the same as us. They fall over, they cut themselves, they bleed. So there's nothing different. It's the ability to just do hard work. That's what makes people succeed. This is a big one for me, and again, being part of a startup hub, don't believe everything you hear and see. I actually think as entrepreneurs we do ourselves a lot of injustice when we carry on with the, I'm killing it. Oh man, I am fucking killing it. Like how many times, and like I'm guilty of that. When people are saying, oh, how's it all going? You're like, oh yeah, good, yeah, so busy, so busy. And it actually makes other people go, fuck, how are they so busy and I'm not so busy? Like what's happening? Or you open the business page of the West Australia and it's got the 5 hottest tech companies for 2024 and you're like, whoa, these guys are killing it. By the end of 2024, 4 of those 5 no longer exist. That's the reality. You know, like there's so much, I actually think there's so much smoke and mirrors in what we are doing, and I don't think we do ourselves any justice, and I think it actually, probably from a mental health perspective, because you read a lot of this stuff and you're like, fuck, how is that person doing that? Or what have they done that's different to me? Or how are they succeeding? Most of it's bullshit. And I can tell you most of it's bullshit because I now get asked by investment teams to go in and speak with the companies they've invested in. And the companies, and a number of these companies would be familiar to a lot of people in this room. You go in, you meet with the founder, and the founder's telling you, wow, it's amazing, we're killing it, we're so busy, this is this and this. You pull out the P&L. That's the way you know if a company's killing it. And people aren't coming to you going, yeah, I'm killing it, there's my P&L, check my P&L out. So that's the reality. The reality is it's down to a P&L. So, and I know there's people, you know, this probably isn't relevant to everybody, but you really need to check yourself sometimes on when people are saying, I'm killing it, I'm doing really well. You jump on LinkedIn and you see people that are prolific. They must spend all day long on LinkedIn. And I know people, it's a branding exercise, I get that as well. But I think we can be our own worst enemies sometimes with that kind of stuff. Yeah, and I know it's a balance to have, and you want to tell people, yeah, you're doing really well. But, you know, it is challenging. And I think you need to be honest and true to yourself as well. And part of that is accountability. I think it probably touches on my point before around it's not the smartest person or the cleverest idea that wins the day. Part of that whole piece is around accountability. No one is going to hold you as an entrepreneur accountable apart from you. And I was talking to some young guys last week around, you know, a bit about what I did and yada yada. But one of the things, and I actually kind of thought, you know, and I'll tell you this story, but in accountability, sales calls, I hated sales calls. Hated it. Got to love it by the end because I could change my mindset around it. But told myself accountable. I knew I had to do X amount of calls a week and follow-up calls and get proposals out the door. And at the end of the week, if I'd met that target, Owen bought himself a coffee and a muffin from the cafe down the road in Shenton Park. Now, probably to most people in the room, they're like, that's a bit fucking lame, mate. But that's kind of what my treat was, you know. And I didn't go and buy coffees. I didn't do that kind of stuff. So for me, that was, you've met your targets. That's how I held myself accountable. You have to be so honest, awkwardly honest with yourself around, did I actually do that right? Did I meet my targets? Because if you don't do it, no one's going to do it. And it's a slippery bloody slope. Because pretty quickly, the 200 calls you need to make become 150 and then they become 100. So, accountability. If you're going to talk to people, you know, find a group of people who you can be open and honest with. And I know there are a few small groups that actually do get together. I've spoken to a couple of them. But just be aware that some of the stuff that you read, especially in the West Australian, it's not true, you know. That startup stuff that we read about startup, there's a lot of it that isn't actually that true or accurate. All right, success is not always about selling your business. So what do I mean by success is not always about selling your business? There's plenty of people who have businesses who I've met since, who have had businesses for a long period of time, who have an amazing life, and take holidays when they want, go on holidays when they want, and they derive a really, really good income from their business. And to me, that wasn't something that I ever, to be honest, realised. I thought if you start a business, you want to sell the business, you want to make a buck, and then you want to get out. But there's actually another avenue, which is really around building your business and letting that business run for itself. And putting people in to run that business or running that business yourself, but building a team around it so that you can take a sizable wage out of that business and dividends at the end of the year and live a really, really good life. Because one of the things that happens, and I'll touch on it in a second, and Tony, you'll probably back me up on this, when you sell a business, you walk out the following day and 2 years later you're going, what the fuck am I going to do with myself? Because you started a business in the first place because you have a certain mindset. You will, if you exit your business or if your business doesn't succeed, which is fine, there is no shame in that, you will want to start another business because that's ingrained in you. For some strange reason, we all have something ingrained in us where we think, I need to start a business, I want to start a business. So it's not always about selling your business and building your business. The thing I think as well with business is because we spend so long building it and we put so much time into building a business, it becomes our identity. And for me, that was a really hard thing to shake because my whole world for by the time I got out of it, it was 11 or 12 years, was built around Logic Health. And the first, when you meet people, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm the CEO of Logic Health. Oh, what's that? And you kind of, you know, you're kind of talking about it and you're like, yeah, there's a bit of pride because I've built this thing, started from nothing. But you wake up one morning and that's gone. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tony.
Or they've ruined it.
Yeah, or they've ruined it. But it's gone. And for me, it was like, fuck, what actually do I do? Who actually am I? And that might sound really weird, and Kate, I know you're looking at me strangely, but it's gone. And so you wake up and you're like, well, fuck, what do I actually do? Now, I had young kids, and it took me the best part of 2 to 3 months after I sold my business to, to be like, no, it's cool, it's gone. You've got 2 kids, you fish, you dive, you do all this other stuff. That's what you do. That's who you are. But it is a trap when you start a business and you scale a business, your identity is linked to that business. And I know with some people it's your career, the same thing can happen with a career. My mum's a lifelong nurse, and she talks about when she stopped nursing, who actually is she? What does she actually do? I'm not a nurse anymore. No, you raised 4 boys and you're a mum and a grandmum and all this kind of stuff. So I think that's something that you need to keep in check a little bit, because your world revolves solely around that business, and it's very easy, because you put so much time and effort into it, for your identity to become that business. And I don't think enough stuff gets talked about, and I catch up and we have breakfast regularly with a group who have sold businesses, and it's the same. Everybody is the same. Everybody has the same experience with this. And maybe if they do destroy your business, it's even worse. I don't know, but you just need to be mindful of it. Who you are. Yep, you started a business, you own a consultancy, you've got a marketing, but you're also a mum, a dad, a brother, an uncle, whatever else it is. Just be really careful, because if it fails, it's probably even worse as well, because we have this thing around failure and fuck, I failed, my identity isn't who I thought it was. It's the same thing. So it's a trap. So just be, I guess, aware of it. Now, as I even read this, I'm like, fuck, what did I put that title on it for? So apologies. And again, this is my experience. I grew up in a house where we didn't have any money. Like, I grew up in a fairly poor, we didn't have a lot of money anyway, but I find it super stressful that one day I woke up and I had money. Like, I had a lot of money in a bank account. And I feel a great amount of responsibility to, not that I would lose the money, but to make sure that thing grows for my kids. And I feel a great amount of responsibility to ensure that my kids don't grow up going, yeah, we've got lots of money. We live in a nice suburb. We've got a nice house. Like, it is actually stressful. I think my heart rate's like going up as I speak about it. I don't know if it's the double shot I had in my coffee or what, but it actually is a strange experience, because you feel, I do anyway, I feel a great amount of responsibility to that money. And we have this belief that I'll sell a business, I'll make a significant amount of money, or some amount of money. I don't think it really has to be significant, but some amount of money, and life's going to be sweet. In my head, I was like, and I remember my wife's dad saying to me, that's all right, you'll have some time off and you'll start again. And in my head, I was like, I'm not fucking starting another business. I'm going to be diving, I'm going to be surfing, I'm going to be fishing. That's what I'm going to be doing. Literally 6 months later, I was hanging out with 60-year-old, 70-year-old retired people, and my wife was like, you need to get a fucking job. I was becoming bitter and twisted at the world. And this is the same. Those guys that I catch up with for breakfast, everybody is the same. Everybody is the same when we talk about that. So it is actually quite a stressful thing. And to be honest with you, you know, after I got a phone, I'll always remember the day I got a phone call bringing, yeah, hello, Owen speaking. Hello, Owen, this is Tom. Oh, hey, Tom. Hey, I'm from the Commonwealth Bank. I just want to thank you for being such a loyal customer. We love you being a customer. It's so good. We think you're great. Yeah, and I was just like, is this a prank call? Like, what is going on here? Anyway, hung up the phone, and next time I checked the bank account, that first tranche of money had gone in. So it wasn't that the Commonwealth Bank loved me being part of the bank. It was like, oh fuck, some significant amount of money. We better ring this guy and make sure that he's not going to leave. So, you know, that kind of stuff then starts happening. The part of the piece with this, you've got to make sure when you sell a business that your structures are right. One of the things that I did in my business was I was 100% the shareholder of the business. So every share in Logic Health belonged to Owen. So when Owen sold every share of Logic Health, the money went to Owen. The ATO then goes to Owen. Is there anybody from ATO here? I hope not. The ATO then goes to Owen, hey Owen, have I got a great conversation that we're about to have? That's when we talk around business structure, this is why it's so important. So that when you exit a business, or if you don't exit a business and your business is making a lot of money, that you can kind of ensure that you're not being, that you can save and retain as much of that money as possible. Getting your structures right was not something that I ever thought of, because I never thought, oh, I need to sell the business. And trying to unwind that when you're 4 or 5 or 10 years down the road is near on impossible. And I don't think any accountant would really, a lot of them would say, well, look, the value of the business is significantly grown. We have to do adjustments here. There's capital gains issues around that. So trying to get the structure right at the start is super, super important. And you need to think about who owns the shares in your business. Is it you? Do you own personally 100% of those shares? Because when you sell that business, all the money goes to you. Now, you might go, well, obviously that's great, but there are other ways, whereas if a family trust or a separate entity owned it, the money would go to them and they get charged at a lesser tax rate. And I'm not talking about tax avoidance, because I think everybody should pay their tax, but I am talking around ways to mitigate the amount of tax that you pay. Because once you have a significant amount of money, that tax bill is significant. And it doesn't go away in the blink of an eye. I had an earn-out for 3 years. I was working with them for, I had an earn-out over 2 years. I worked with them for 3. Year 1 of the year didn't have an earn-out. But for those 3 years and the preceding years, that tax bill doesn't go away. You know, it's there. You have to set up structures then afterwards. The other thing that, again, go back to me, year 10 at school, teachers being like, oh, and this maybe isn't a pathway for you. I was never good at maths. And so there's a whole heap of stuff around finance, accounting, that I was never even aware of. You know, like why are you paying an extra percentage of your wage or your income in for superannuation? You get charged extra for super, you get charged extra for Medicare, you get charged. So there's all these additional charges, which rightly you should pay because you've made a lot of money, but you need to be aware of. I wasn't aware of it, and I was like, what the fuck's going on here? And the accountant basically, every time I pick up the phone and have a chat, it was almost like a lawyer. Oh yeah, that's $100. Yeah, that's $100. And your tax bill would then become 25 grand a year. So there's all these things that happen that I actually found super stressful. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting up here whinging going, oh, it's terrible, don't ever do it. It's a great experience. And I think hand in hand with that, the other bit around, I know I touched on previously the slide around selling your business. It's not for everybody. One of the things that happened with me, and I was talking to somebody about it before, when they said, hey, would you be interested in selling your business? You then go into a boardroom overlooking, I did anyway, overlooking the Sydney Harbour, and there's a big lunch spread put out, and there's all these people being wheeled in suits, and this is our M&A legal team, and this is our M&A accounting team, and there's Owen going, fuck, and am I, you know, are these friendlies? Are they trying to shaft me? Like, what is going on here? And that is, like, you don't know where you stand. And so then they're putting up spreadsheets and lunch is getting rolled out and the catering team's coming in and you're kind of like, what is actually happening here? You very quickly need to get a team of people around you when you get to that stage, legal people, accountants, advisors, to help make sure that your best interests are being looked after. And that stuff costs money. You know, when it was all said and done with me, it was probably 60, 70 grand in accounting fees and legal fees as part of my deal. Because the lawyers, and I actually think it's a bit of a game that these guys pay, they all have in-house legal M&A team. So they don't give a shit how long they're on the phone to your legal team, but your legal team bill you in 6-minute blocks, right? So once you get to the stage where you're going to sell a business or you're thinking about selling a business, get your ducks in a row really quickly. Find out who your good accountants are, find out who your good legal team are, make sure you've got a team of advisors that can help guide you. Because go back to what I started with at the start, my deal was super simple, it was great, I had a great experience. But I know a lot of people who have been shafted, or their business has been destroyed, or whatever's happened. So it is worth spending that money up front. Because what happened with my deal as well was that the tranche, the company that bought me, listed entity, I came under a certain segment of their business, which was the medical centres business, because we were occupational health. For them, the medical centres business caused issues with them being listed, because every time they reported on, hey, we've recruited 400 doctors, but we've lost 500, their stock price went down, regardless of how well the rest of the business was went. So the CEO, the group CEO, wanted to then sell the medical centres business, which I was part of. So they put it on the market, private equity went and did all the due diligence, and then eventually a company called BGH Capital, a large private equity firm in Australia, bought that business. What ended up happening then was that business, when you go into these ASX-listed businesses and you think, fuck, the ASX-listed, these must be really well-run shops, it's like a swamp. I went in, and this is no word of a lie, the first day I was there, you swipe in at 7 o'clock, you walk into the building, there's fucking nobody else there. There's literally nobody else in the building. So I sat in the foyer for an hour until the receptionist got there, and then people start rolling in. At 4 o'clock, everybody clocks out and they leave, bar a few people in the business. There was floors, and I kid you not, floors of people, and when I was getting the tour, I was like, what do all these people do? Oh, that's the finance team. Next floor, what do all these people? Oh, they're the finance team. What's this floor? They're the marketing team. What's this? It was just like, there was teams and teams and teams of people who clocked in. Now, don't get me wrong, everybody wasn't in this. This is a, broad brush, but swipe in at 8, leave at 4. So these businesses, so that mentality gets bought by a private equity firm who clearly then start cutting and trimming the fat. But what ends up happening is everybody who's been there for 10, 15 years starts knifing each other. And it just became this political nightmare. And luckily we were to the side of it a bit, but these bigger businesses that you get absorbed by can be, again, a swamp is a great way of explaining it. Where people are there, they're career people. They just want to be CEO. They just want to be a manager. They do not give a shit about anything else. And when there's a bit of turmoil, my experience is they'll knife each other. And that's what happened. And so under BGH Capital, it kind of got a little bit for the best part of 6-7 months. And probably 6 months later, me and my CEO were like, we're done. I don't need to be here anymore. We don't need to put up with this stuff. And then you hand over the keys of your castle to somebody else. So we went and got an executive CEO search and got a new CEO to come in. And that is, you're handing over the keys to the castle. That is like giving your firstborn to a stranger you don't know and saying, I'll catch you later, do a good job. It's the same thing. Like it is very kind of... So that experience in, is selling your business the right option? Be aware that it's great, but there's a whole 6, 7... Like my due diligence went for 6 months. They have a large M&A team, lawyers, accountants, due diligence room set up, documents. And don't forget, like I was a startup. As I said to you, maths, like all that stuff wasn't my strong point. So when they're saying, oh, can we have this document? Can we have this document? I madly went and made that document and this document and then backdated it. Fuck, I hope there's maybe giving too much away here. But that's what happens. I'm not an anomaly. Change the logo. Yeah. ChatGPT didn't exist, but if it did, you can imagine what I was doing. So all of those, and people talk about, having your process, procedures, all of that stuff in place. I think it is important, but is it as important as going out and selling your business initially? No, because you've got to get your business and you've got to get it to a place that it's making money. If you're lucky enough that someday somebody comes along and knocks on the door and wants to buy the business, or you get it to a place where you're like, I actually don't want to sell it, I'm just going to have this constant income, well then yes, you need to get all that stuff up and going pretty quickly. Or not pretty quickly, but you need to get it all up and going. But I guess it gives you an insight into selling to a large listed entity. And yes, it's great, but sometimes it's not always that great. I think that's really it from me. Let me just see. I had some other things written down. Just bear with me for 2 seconds. Yeah, one of the things I probably didn't touch on as well while I'm speaking very poorly about the people that bought my business after telling you I had a great experience. No, I did have a great experience and they were great, is that they're risk averse. Big companies are risk averse. You own a business, you make decisions on the fly and you learn pretty quickly whether those decisions are the right or not. When we went into the large business, they literally, you were like, this is what we're going to do. And you go to do it and they'd say, wait, we've got to have meetings about that. What do you mean? So you'd go in, there had to be spreadsheets, the finance team had to look at what the next 5 years might look like, the marketing team had to be involved. And you lose somewhat the ability to make decisions on the fly. I always went with, it's better to ask for forgiveness. So you just go make the decision and if it was wrong, you say, look, I got that wrong. But it's, again, something to be aware of. They don't make decisions the same way you make decisions. There's meetings around everything. So, yeah, I think that's really it. Does anybody... Do I take questions? Yeah? Can I?
Yeah, absolutely. And just,
Yes.
please get a round of applause for Owen. I think that was awesome. Apologies, this mic isn't working, but use it for the live stream anyway. Who's got questions? All right. Just yell so we can hear you.
Yell?
Yell, because
Does this work? How do I...
It is working, but just for the live stream. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
This one and I can shout, or... I think this one works.
I can shout. Go. Hello. Yeah. That was great, very much from the heart, and I was sort of following you and thinking all these sort of questions of the sort of things going through my head as well. So I've got five words. Okay. One is risk, one is greed, one is lifestyle business, one is timing, and one is regrets. Can you put all those in a paragraph and tell us? So risk, what's the risk for you, and how greedy were you or not when you made a decision to sell? Did you think about a lifestyle type of business? I've heard about these with people have been a bit disparaging about them, but kind of, oh, this is a lifestyle business, but whatever. Timing, when did the decision that you made that you wanted to sell, about greed and risk, and also regrets. What are the regrets of the whole process?
Yeah. Wow, okay, there's a whole talk in there. Let's go.
Okay. I'll probably have to get you to repeat some of those, but so risk, risk. What about if I if I answer them in a different order, right? Timing and selling your business. I got to a point with my business that I knew the way to grow my business was to open physical medical centres. I had all this network of third-party alliance clinics who I relied on to deliver work. One of the things in running a business, your staff and other third parties will never be as passionate about your business as you are. So they were delivering work for us, but was it to the quality that I wanted it to be all the time? No. So that's probably the point where I knew that growing, I either had to open my own physical clinics or I would look to a larger partner around how can I get into their clinics. And that's how the discussion came up initially. We were using these clinics. I didn't know they all belonged to the same company, but I was going down an avenue to try and find a company or a group of companies that had lots of medical centres that I could physically go into and take some of their space. So that's why I sold. Timing, greed. How greedy was I? I was unbelievably greedy in building my business. The best analogy I can use for building a business is, I don't know if anybody here has played sport or at a high level played sport, it's the same thing. If you want to run faster, swim faster, lift heavier, be better, you have to be really good at pushing yourself. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Because once you're comfortable at being uncomfortable, that becomes your new standard. So I was super greedy at growing my business. I was greedy with time, I was greedy with relationships, I was greedy on a whole raft of fronts. I think I don't know if you have to be that greedy. To me, I think you do, but I'm happy to hear otherwise. How greedy was I when the deal started getting talked about? Pretty greedy. But you realise pretty quickly there's a lot of pushback. And a lot of people do say you've got to be prepared to walk away from a deal. Again, probably my mindset, if I'm 100% honest, I grew up in a house where we had like fuck all money. So for me, when someone's saying we're going to give you this amount, I wasn't prepared to turn around and just be like, oh yeah, I'll just leave that on the table. On the off chance that I'm going to play a game of cat and mouse with them. Would I do it the next time around? Probably. But again, it's each individual is to themselves. Remind me the other ones. Risk. Lifestyle business. Not selling a business isn't for everybody. I know a couple in their 60s who literally take holidays when they want. They work from their place down south. They have businesses on the East Coast and here. They golf all over the world. They've just come back from a 3-week walking holiday in Tasmania where literally they went from 5-star lodge to 5-star lodge to 5-star lodge to 5-star lodge. So is that what you mean by a lifestyle business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why selling a business or keep it going on?
I think it's totally to the individual. Yeah, I think it's totally to the individual. I think if you're young enough to, age probably doesn't have anything to do with it, but it's really around the individual. It's around your personality. Yeah, it's around your personality. Because it's great, like if you can have a business and live a great lifestyle and still earn 300 grand, 400 grand, whatever it is, and divvies at the same time, and dividends at the same time, I think that's a great way to go as well. Lifestyle business, regrets. What regrets do I have? Jesus, we could be here all day. Joking. No jokes. I don't know. I don't regret selling my business. I do not regret selling my business. I think there's always a bit in me, I'm being pretty personal here, that like to build a business, I was playing a lot of footy. I was doing a lot, like I missed out on a lot of stuff. I think you kind of have to though. Again, I'm happy to hear the counter argument, but I think you almost, to build a business, to get it to a stage where someone wants to come in and pay you a shit ton of money for it, I don't know anybody that's done that hasn't given up a large chunk of their social life. Something has to give. You can't build a business and spend 80 hours a week building a business, but then also want to go out and spend, another 80 hours or whatever else socialising, hanging out. There's so much bits and pieces. You have to be laser focused. That's my honest opinion. And, if you look at anybody, look at Olympians. It's the same sort of thing. They are so laser focused on swimming, paddling, running, whatever it is, everything else gets parked. And my comment before around, the second time around, I've got 2 small children, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. Like, it's a constant battle to try and I cannot give my business the same amount of focus as I did. Does it answer your question around regrets? No, but it's probably around what I missed out on. But it's all, you know, that's hypothetical because you don't know. You don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I could have played in a couple of footy premierships, guaranteed. I missed out on that. But I live a lifestyle now that's pretty good. I take holidays when I want. Does that answer your question? It does. Perfect. Great.
Nice. Other questions?
I've
got a working mic now.
Thank you for the presentation. It's fantastic. There would have been a point when you started your business that you weren't working full-time and you were doing other business on the side to pay your bills. At what point did you decide to leap and go full-time? And, like, what were the key metrics around that where you're like...
Great question. So, I think my business was a services business. And what I'm learning very quickly, because my next business I've started is a tech business, or a software business, a services business. So I made a decision one day, and the next day I was on a plane flying to Karratha or Port Hedland. I'd spent 5 years working for another company as a consultant. And a number of the sites we were working on, the people, there's two in particular who I'm still super tight with, basically said, you need to stop working for this company and start your own business. And I was like, there's no way in the world I could do that. Like, it's a bit of a shit thing to do. The place I was working at, the guy wasn't the nicest. He's now been banned by ASIC as a director. It gives you some foresight into the personality. No one ever paid super. He'd walk in one day and be like, you know, I said I'm paying you $50 an hour. Well, it's actually $30 an hour, and walk away. So it was a shit show, number one, and that's great, you know, how not to run a business, but so I never actually side hustled. I literally went, okay, am I going to do this, am I going to do this, am I going to do it? And the guys, two of those guys who were like, you should be starting this because you do a much better job than the guy who you're working for, they then said, we'll raise a PO and you'll come and work for us, right? Now, is that lucky? Yes, that is lucky. Do you make your own luck? Yes, you do. Because you get there, you build the relationships, and you go the extra mile, and people very quickly go, Tony goes the extra mile. Hey, Tony, here's a PO. So I didn't side hustle. And in terms of metrics, go back to my comment around I wasn't very good in school. I just went and did stuff. Like, I could go to a site. Yeah, tell me how much longer do I have? Have I run over?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. I could go to a site, land and expand real quickly. What I was really good at was seeing who I needed to talk to and go and talk to them. And that was my metric. My metric was really how much money's coming in the door. And for the first 2 or 3 years, it was very little. You'd go to site, it was all coming to me. So I was earning a much better wage. I wasn't growing a business. It was solely me for probably 2 years, maybe a bit longer. No, maybe not that long. And then we won some other contracts and I had to hire people. And then it was around hiring those people. So it's probably a shit answer to your question. I didn't really side hustle, but happy to talk around ways that you could do that. Anybody else with a question?
All right, this might be...
My question is, because I understand, starting and running a business, it's very, very challenging. Was there a time in your life where you felt like giving up? You felt like, no, this is like, it's too... Like
100%.
Yeah.
Look, starting and running a business, it goes like this. It has great times, and then it has troughs, and then it has good times, and then it has troughs. That is guaranteed. That is guaranteed. It does this. But as long as then when you look back over a period of time, and it's growing, that's good. So there was lots of periods of time, not lots, but there were periods of time when I was like, what the fuck am I doing this for? Like, realistically, I could go jump in a dump truck and earn 160 grand a year and clock in and out every 2 weeks. But to me, like, I think probably like a lot of people in this room, I have some strange thing ingrained in my brain where I'm like, no, I want to start and grow something. So yes, there were times, but was it genuine in doing it? Probably not. Up the back, I know there was a question.
All right,
and there's
one more question.
And there's one down the front as well. Sorry, go on.
Thank you very much for the talk. I think I think we have got a lot from it. Just wanted to ask, and perhaps it comes naturally to you, but it sounds like your business was a B2B kind of relationship building. It relied a lot on that. And just wondering if you could share some tips.
Okay. If people have to go, feel free to get up and go. I appreciate you being here, but I know people have work to get to. B2B, I love, I am honestly still really close with a number of people who I did work for, right? So the thing with B2B, which is amazing in a B2B business, especially in resources, is people change company all the time. So for me, it was like I would meet a lot of guys in wherever, Karratha, as a great example, who are from the East Coast. They didn't know jack shit about AFL, but they loved NRL. So what did Owen learn pretty quickly? Get to know NRL. So on Monday when I lobbed into site and was like, you go for the Newcastle Knights, they did great on the weekend, or they did shit, or how's the West Tigers? So it's building connections. It's like anything. You've got to build connections really, really quickly. And for me, with a lot of the people who were on mine sites, I could do that really well. And, you can get in and being true to yourself, not making shit up like, fuck, these guys are all knobs and I'm just going to pretend. Like, that's what I did. The other thing I got really good at was landing and expanding, getting to a site or a location and looking at what the other 15 businesses were there and getting around to them. And a large part of what I did was getting around and talking and building those relationships and then getting on the blower back to their head office. Hey, I was on site last week. I was talking to your guys because I'm up there doing X, Y, and Z with X, Y, and Z. They thought it would be a good idea to give you a call. Even if I haven't talked to their guys on site, I was still getting on the blower and going, hey, spoke to your guys on site. And they might say, oh, who did you speak to? I don't know, one of the guys were out on top of a transfer station. But that's the kind of stuff you have to do. You have to also, as long as you're there to fulfill a service for your client, fulfill the service. But while you're doing that, for me, it was like land and expand, land and expand. And that was honestly, relationships are what grew our business. Going from Gorgon, from Barrow to Darwin to Ictus, which were big construction gas projects, those same people were all back over in New South Wales. Some of them are head of safety and health for large contracting companies who I can pick up the phone with and talk about Liverpool, because we're all Liverpool supporters, or I can talk about Aussie rules, or we can talk around whatever. And they still pick up the phone and go, hey, could you help me with this? Hey, what about that? You're a trusted source of information. That's what you become, a trusted source of information. They will come to you for personal stuff. They will come to you for work stuff. And I always, again, sorry, I know I'm going over time, but please bear with me. If I ever fucked up, if Logic Health ever did an issue, I would pick up the phone, hey guys, we fucked up, we did this wrong, I'm going to sort it out for you. And hands down, a number of them have come back and said, you will always do what you say. I'll sort it out, I fucked up, it's on me, I know it wasn't me that did it. You don't have to say that. If one of your consultants or somebody I had on the site did something they shouldn't have done, that we've done it wrong, it's me, I put them there, I'll sort it out for you. And if that meant I had to get on a plane and fly to wherever to do whatever, or I had to do it for free, I'd do it. But in the long run, that has paid off hands down. I think there was one more question. Can I take one more, or we're over? No, happy to take it afterwards.
I think we're going to have to.
I'll take it afterwards.
We'll have to get you back to do a whole talk on relationship building.
Sorry.
But that was awesome. Please, a round of applause for Owen. Thank you so much. Owen, are you going to hang around for like 20 minutes or so? Because come and have a chat.
Awesome. I just wanted to thank Owen personally as well. That was absolutely epic. There are a few themes that Owen touched on that we're going to, that neatly segue into some of the speakers that we've got coming up soon. So we were chatting about B2B sales, not yet announced, but on the 6th of November we're going to have two people coming along to talk about selling into new industries. So that'll be really fun. And also we touched on the theme of founders' mental health. So all the way over in February next year, we've got Kay from Founders Families coming along to talk specifically about mental health for founders.
Fantastic. This is great. Cool. Well, thank you so much. We're going to turn this place back into a co-working space. In 2 weeks' time, we have
We have Aaron
with the impronounceable last name.
With the impronounceable last name, talking about sexy hippopotamus and everything that you wanted to know about branding as a startup founder.
Terrific. All right, but please make yourself welcome to the food, the coffee. Come and have a chat with Owen and get to know each other. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Cheers. Well done. Yes, finish it off. Beautiful.
Thank you. Oh, that was cathartic. That was beautiful.